Shalom Israel, giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakakadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, double honors to the apostles, elder bishops, great millstone. My salutations to the brothers teaching word for the hopeful elect, soon to be the elect most high will, to the hopefully soon elect Shalom, blessings. Men, women, and children, getting right into it. The reason why women really don't understand the great thing and understand the whole marriage thing, that laying down with a woman constitutes marriage, is because they don't have the protection that they used to. They don't have the family structure. They don't have the father. They don't have the husband. In a short, Abraham, at his elderly age, he had Isaac. And then, before he passed, he wanted, his servant to find a wife for his son, Isaac. So, the servant went out, but, I didn't want, you could read the whole story, Genesis 24 and 52. And like we said, it's an exchange of, everything has an exchange. Everything has a price, so to speak. Everything is made of resources and goods, and we use them for how the Most High told us to use them for. And everything has a balance. It says it all through the scriptures. So, even us being in our worst state at the bottom, our families broken up, our curses, it's not wise to have too many women. But if we were rich and kings, and using it with wisdom, like it says in the Apocrypha, or in Proverbs, I think it's in Psalms, it says, "Oh, ye kings of the earth, judge righteously," and everything in perfection. Nothing is defiled. So, you can have many women, and in the structure of righteousness, it's permittable, having our heart's desire. So, in a short, that Abraham, Rebecca was found for Isaac, and that's where Esau and Jacob came from. Rebecca, two nations were in the womb. But, that's another story of this same beginning story. It says, Genesis 24 and 53, it says, the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment and gave them to Rebecca. See, so that was an exchange of goods, and they had already talked with Rebecca's father, and the company of Rebecca, her household. I think it says, so you can't, when you met a woman back then, you were, it wasn't no ceremony of marriage, but you did sit down at the table with her family. They show you in a lot of black movies, got it right on that part. A woman meet a man. She said, I met a man, I'll bring him home. But sometimes a woman at times didn't want their parents to find out, because they would sneak and do it, because, they might have been, already had a man set up, so to speak, or they was not expecting them to do it so soon. Now, 14 is a woman past the flower age. That's the usual time that a woman is ready to have children, to meet a man. So Rebecca, when Isaac met her, she was a virgin, so she had to be 13 or 14 years old. But she was groomed and under the household of her father, and and like I said, I want to find that scripture where it says And when you were introduced to a woman, she immediately said who she's the daughter of. Like this case, Genesis, which is the same story, Genesis 24:47. And I asked her, and she said, "Whose daughter are?" And he what? And I asked her and said, "Whose daughter art thou?" And she said, "The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bare into him." And I put the earring upon her face and the bracelets upon her hands. But there's a part where they accompany. But Abraham, wanted to find a woman of his own kindred to marry his son. So not of the Canaanites. But the setup was there. The bond knew, and the company of her mother and her whole house, the houses of the fathers. So, so you could drop down to when Rebecca first saw Isaac, Slaki. Genesis 24:64, it says, "And Rebecca lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lifted off the camel." And remember, Abraham was rich. He was wealthy. He had land and everything. For she had said, and that was told to Laban by Abraham's servant that was sent to find a wife for Isaac. It says, "For she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself." Now, and a servant told Isaac all the things he had done, and Isaac brought her into his mother's Sarah's tent and took Rebekah. See, so that veil is likened to like a woman that gets married. Like, she's covered herself. She has a veil over herself, but you see no ceremonial thing took place for that. She just laid with her, took her to the tent, had his way with her, and they were married. They were, basically joined as one flesh. And she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So that's the case too. And it was an angel involved too. But a woman could be sent to you for the comfort of, after your mother's death. So that was somewhat a common thing, and a woman nurses. She's a nurser. She's she provides in a different kind of way than a man, and like it says, when we get a woman, we give a pillar of rest. We get a possession, and it becomes, she, like you guys serve your man. So we serve the Most High. It's not like we're not servants too. Just got different offices, different duties. So, if these women had their fathers, and I know we under the curses and things happened in Jake's family that was you couldn't avoid, but they often talk about men and bashing men, but these men are the same men that would have been your fathers or your uncles. So I don't see how. And they say that to us. Well, would you curse your mother with that same mouth? Well, y'all are not like the mothers back then. You new generation women, y'all not like the mothers back then. The mother, they served their man. They cooked, they cleaned, and they honored their husbands. They respected their husbands. Also, like I said, and an example, like when a woman say, "Well, my man hit on me, mother," she tells her mother a man hit on her. Well, the first thing the mother's gonna say is, "Well, what did you do to make him mad where he hit you?" So she was basically kind of like siding with him, like you must have done something wrong. So but Jake got into pimping and drug dealing and gang banging. So and pressure and oppression came with that, and curses in and out of jail. So yeah, Jake can kind of become, somewhat of a monster in a way. That he disregarding, the care of his family, his seed, his wife. So that's why I said don't be a lion in your household. But, with that being neither here nor there concerning this topic, there was always uh, a establishment with the father in the household when dealing with daughters. So it wasn't, you couldn't easily get raped unless you're out there somewhere you shouldn't be without no protection. It's usually, and that's kind of how the hood was too. Growing up, a female could say, I got my brothers, I got my father, my uncle. They'll call their uncle or father if somebody, but it's not so much now, that's kind of faded away. But, you know, even more so back then in this day, it was more structured and it was more, a man would, like, he's pay shekels. They put gold bracelets on her hands and gold earrings on her face, in the ears, So there has to be an exchange. We understand that, you have to, they call it courting, but, you have to pay, for a woman and shit. I mean, whether it's a form of prostitution or whether it's just, meeting a woman and taking her out. Now, like, sometimes that's not always the case because women will pay sometime, but you got to pay, you got to give up something, man. Your time, or your money, something got to come out of it. But, and women, that's not a form of prostitution. A man taking you out and then, he wants some box from you. I mean, if a man was rich, these women would be like having no question to lay down with the man. He probably have to say, hold on to her. Well, hold on now, because you seem like you just a little too excited. It might be for my money. Oh, no, it's not for your money. I like you and all that. So, it's just that we're not in our best state right now. There's a reason why. And Jake shouldn't be bothered by that or sidetracked by that. The women are coming, and the apostle elder been making videos about that. Knowledge of wisdom shall be the stability of thy times. Isaiah 33:6. Queen of Sheba, she went to hear Solomon's wisdom, and probably spent the night at his doorstep sometimes. Like, he didn't even know she was out there. Like, man, what you doing out here? I just fell asleep crying and hearing your voice in my head or hearing your poetry. He probably, you never know, he's probably reciting some things up in his window, and she just stood there and laid down there and listening to him without him knowing and fell asleep, But that's how women were connected to the man back then, They would make that effort, and those kind of sacrifices themselves to see the man, to want the man. You see, it says Rebecca lifted off her and said, "Who is man? Who is this man?" So, and she covered up her face, covered herself, and allow Jacob. I mean, I keep saying Jacob. Allow Isaac to get it. So, yeah, everything. Women have to understand the course. Everything's out of course. So a lot of things you're not gonna understand, and it's not gonna make any sense because it's been watered down. It's been Americanized, colonized. It's been lied about. So things of the old nature and of how we used to do things, it seemed like very harsh or strict or very, very male, and it is male dominated. The male is dominant. He's over the woman, and that's what these women, I think, they will never get to the end of the world or to the grave or whatever. They'll never get that, and that's usually the problem of the Jake family. That the women won't give rest to the man. He won't understand that he needs help as a man. I mean, women are a helpmeet. It says that in the Genesis. So they be like, well, a man can't help me. Fuck, I ain't supposed to help a man. I'm the woman. No, you have abilities as a woman to have access to many things that you can help a man out with. You know, like we said, the nursing and Eve means the mother of all living. So she takes care of the produce that the seed gives and the man lays. So she take care of her children. She take care of the house that the children live in. You know, she's light on her feet. She's 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 glowing. She takes care of herself, her hair, and she looks pretty for us. And you know, it's a lot, but it's not. It's the love of they have fallen out of love with the man and the responsibilities that they should take up to love their man, love their husbands. And now they're just going for the bag, money, just straight money, power and money, what have you. So they need to get back to their original duties, their original roots. And that's what it says. Isaac was comforted by Rebekah. Hard day's work, come home, your woman, scratch your head, massage your head, braid your hair, whatever, massage your feet, whatever the case may be. She comforts you with her words. They're supposed to be likened to wisdom, but they have none. And that's why they mad at the men that have wisdom, because it contradicts their own puffed up minds to be independent and whatever. But they suppose wisdom is a woman. Consider, woman in the spiritual terms. So they supposed to be likened to or with the comforting words, so to speak, But anyway, yeah, things are changing and they finding out. But yeah, like we always say, 7 women to 1 man is coming, and it's showing, it's going to show. They're going to start realizing that they're really lonely, and that it's better to live in a house structured and, somewhat strict and what have you. And even if it's another woman in the righteous way it's supposed to be, than to be out there lonely and nowhere to go and no one to trust and no protection. So that's what's going on, man. Anyway, I've talked too long, but hopefully it was edifying. To the next video, what was the point? The point of this was, that there was order and there was a real establishment, and it wasn't no just randomly women out there just sleeping with everybody. You had to meet people, you had to meet the father, the mother, you had to meet her company, her brother, whatever, her household. It has to be that connection. But today is not that way. Anyway, shalom.